our featured presenter for this evening is Ms. Cheryl Goodman. She is the head of corporate communications for Sony Electronics North America, and she will be presenting on Sony's new electric vehicle concept, the Vision S. Ms. Goodman oversees executive and financial communications, corporate social responsibility programs, and employee communications. Prior to her work at Sony, she served for 10 years at Qualcomm before taking the reins at Athena, where she was recognized as one of San Diego's top CEOs. So we're really lucky to have Ms. Cheryl Goodman tonight. Please join me in welcoming Cheryl Goodman.
I'm like, who is that? That sounds great. Oh, wait, that's me. I'm so happy to be here. When I got the email to come speak, I think I answered it in record time. And it's probably for two reasons. One, I love electric vehicles. I'm on my second one. Haven't managed to wreck it yet or run out of juice. Fingers crossed. But genuinely excited. So my talk tonight, the reason for coming out, of course, is to talk about the Vision S, which is certainly an amazing concept car. That was me doing a karate kick right there in front of the Vision S. But to also give you a little bit of history about Sony. So I want to ask you a few questions. How many of you knew or know that Sony is actually headquartered in San Diego, North America? That's pretty good. That's much better than the response that I normally get. So how many of you are Tesla drivers? Curious? And then there's a bunch of other great EV cars. How many are in those categories? Just curious. Okay, awesome. So let's get started. So context of Sony, we have a new CEO. His name is Kenichiro Yoshida. That is not him, but that is his purpose and values. And he's a really cool guy. He was Kaz Hirai's right arm guy. He was a CFO. And he really helped turn the company around into profitability. Those that know Sony was headquartered in San Diego or know that it's there, know that not so long ago, we had to lay off half of our workforce, which was really difficult. And that's because there's a tremendous turnaround in the consumer electronics industry at large for a variety of reasons. But the net is as Kenichiro Yoshida has taken the leadership position, he has tremendous vision and has articulated purpose and values. And so this is a lot of the reason why we're seeing some of this amazing stuff. And again, not that Kaz Hirai wasn't a visionary, certainly was a great CEO, really brought gaming and PlayStation around and so forth. But the net is he really leads with a purpose. And so I'm going to actually circle back around to that at the end of the presentation to give you some context and proof points about how that's actually done. This is a summary group chart. And so everything under the electronics header is what is done in San Diego. So it is research and development, semiconductors, imaging products and solutions, which of course powers autonomous driving or the ability to have autonomous driving, or high-end cameras, games and network services, of course, also headquartered in San Diego. And we just recently took mobile communications under our wing. And while not prevalent in the US market, Sony is a great mobile leader in the global market. So here's the big story, right? The car, the Vision S. So Vision S was the biggest secret that I think I have ever had to hold for a great amount of time. And there was a lot of discussion about bringing this car out. And, a couple of minds of thought there were, do you bring it out with a partner, a confirmed partner, a Ford or whatever? Or do you do a prototype concept to demonstrate what you believe the future of automotive should look like? And so it is the latter, right? And so Kenichiro Yoshida definitely was the champion behind integrating everything that Sony stands for in a consumer electronics space, displays and image sensors and audio, and put some wheels on it. So it's a really radical car. And so I'll go through that, exactly what that is. But my favorite headline of there was the bottom, Sony. Yes, Sony made a car. Were you guys surprised when you heard about it? I know. I'm like, great. We know the displays are going to be awesome. Okay. Okay, Vision S. Watch this video. All right. So gorgeous, right? I did not drive it here tonight, and if I had, I would drove it right in here, like right up to the podium. So let me tell you a little bit about the car. It's about the size of a Tesla S, about 5,000 pounds, two 268, two electric engines that are 268 horsepower. So it's pretty fast, pretty comparable in terms of its driving ability. The big story really is, so it's nothing really surprising or radical on those specs. The big story for us is really what's happening on the inside of the car. And so it's a couple of things, right? You know, when we think about autonomous driving, we really think about, well, what's really required to make this a safe experience, but also a bespoke and intuitive experience, right? So we really look toward technologies such as 5G, right? That's really going to be the gateway for the greatest value proposition for a lot of those things. That said, you know, obviously we're all driving these cars today and having great benefit over gas hole cars. No, anyone? Is that an old term? Okay, all right. But great benefit, right? So when we think about connectivity, we think about not only vehicle to vehicle communication, vehicle to pedestrian communication, and really this network of communication that we've just not ever seen on any other level. So we certainly are looking forward to the advancement in 5G and other technologies to support the ultimate autonomous driving experience. I want to talk about where Sony sensors are in the marketplace today. These are our public partners. We have many, many partners, and I'm in the Q&A. I know I'm going to get grilled, and I'm just going to tell you right now, I can't tell you. This is what I can tell you, because these are partners that really cherish and value the ingredient branding, the ingredient technology that comes with delivering Sony sensors. So there are 33 sensors in that car. Time of flight sensors, as you can imagine, CMOS sensors, of course, and all of them designed to make sure you have the safest experience, supported by entertainment, and of course, adaptability. So on the safety side, we launched last year or the year before Safety Cocoon, which was the concept of this car. And that concept literally is what really created the trajectory for us to really get busy on designing this car. So these are the placements of the sensors. I think you could probably see where they are, but it really is about what's around you, getting that information in advance. None of that's really a surprise, but the fact that that 33 sensors is, I believe, a industry standard in terms of the amount of information that's feeding into the car. So on the entertainment side, this is really quite compelling. No, you can't play video games while you drive. That's not going to happen. Keep telling my son that. Put the phone down. But it's really about the experience in the car. So I think you may be aware that Sony has the world's largest catalog of music. The catalog, we acquired EMI last November. And so what that means for us in the music space is that we're really focused on delivering that music in its highest quality possible. And if we think about the music industry for the last, I don't know, decades, one of my first jobs here was at mp3.com, you know, that was all about delivery, right, from analog to digital. This is really about fidelity, right? So if you're in this space and you can acoustically tune and experience, that's pretty radical, because I know you like to jam out when you're driving. Who doesn't, right? So 360 audio is something that can be experienced in this car. We actually can demo that tonight if you want to take a look at that later. It's on headsets as well as in the marketplace. It's really quite radical. Liken it to something like a Dolby Atmos, but instead of a 180, it's 360 and it's object-based listening. That's a beautiful interior. Panoramic screen, so you're going to get the metrics that you need to be safe, but of course you can also have entertainment when you're charging or passengers. This is what I think consumers expect from Sony, is really great optical performance. My boss, Mike Sasulo, who's the president of Sony, likes to say seeing is believing. And I absolutely believe that, because I have horrible vision. My hearing's not that great. So all I have to do is look at the displays and I'm like, oh, that's what it's supposed to look like, or that's what it's supposed to hear like. So it's this audio visual experience once you step into the car. And then adaptability. So let's see, did I hit that? So yes, this is the magic, right? I talked about the two motors. This is the prototype that was really what Sony is working on. We expect that this is really going to power, and this is a forward-looking statement, SUVs. That's where we see a sweet spot and an opportunity. And just to recap, it is a prototype car, but that car drives. I mean, that car drove onto the stage at CES last week, and we didn't do it alone. Many partners assisted in ensuring that this was a really quality experience in a drivable car. That car actually will be on the road in the next couple of months in Austria. How many of you are familiar with Magna Steyr? They are an Austrian company that white labels cars for China, but they also are an engineering firm that has designed things like the 4MATIC for Mercedes. And so all these really cool features that our luxury cars want, oftentimes Magna is the vendor to help support that. So that car will actually be driving, and we really thank Magna Steyr for their help on the engineering side there, as well as our other partners. So that's the high-level overview of that car. And if you'll allow me, I want to talk to you about how did we get to the point to get to that car. And we actually have you heard of IBO? Anyone own an IBO when they were a kid? Am I aging myself up here? Yes. Were you happy that IBO's back? So IBO is a companion robot that has 4,000 moving parts. He has the same type of sensor capability that's in the Vision S. So IBO has been under development since 1998, And his name is AIBO, AIBO, which is Artificial Intelligence Bot. AIBO also means pal in Japanese, so it's kind of a little clever name. But the net with this dog is we started dealing with sensors and AI in a really radical way early on, and we're one of the first to come out with a companion robot. We expect robots to clean up dirt and do all these automated tasks. This dog doesn't listen to a damn thing I say. He is just like a dog, except he doesn't pee. There are no fleas, and well, occasionally he'll lift up his leg or squat, but that's how you know what the gender is. And so not to be silly, but this is really where we started when we started thinking about sensors and proximity and mapping and how we would leverage and understand what was around us and what inputs we would take to create and spur a safe driving experience. And you can see all this componentry. This is all uniquely Sony technology, right? And so when we look at, okay, yes, we have the technology chops to pull this off, but what about the content, right? So that was also a big part of that. And Georgia, if you want, you can let him run around and maybe he'll sleep or maybe not, or let him reunite with that guy in the back who was really excited to see him. But so that's AIBO. And it's artificial intelligence we know is also going to be a component of the future of driving. And I think there's so many things that are yet to be understood about the value proposition of what's happening here. But the point is we have a long, rich history here, and it was just really a matter of time before we put wheels on it. In San Diego and in the U.S., I should say, we also have a $100 million fund, Sony Innovation Fund, just funded 40 companies, startups. These are the areas of where we invest. And this is relatively new for Sony, started in 2016. Actually, we just opened up another fund. I think that's $200 million. So the net is we're committed to innovation, and it doesn't always have to happen in Tokyo. And I think that's another really cool thing about working with Sony is that they really do want to find the best for the in-market solution and find the best talent to do so. But I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the history of Sony. So majority of our revenue, and I'll touch on revenue in just a bit, but a majority of our revenue is based in that image sensor. We own 54% of the marketplace. And if you want to know more about that, you can reference this kind of basic white paper that just talks about what we do in sensors. It doesn't talk about the Vision S. This predated the Vision S coming out, but we also touch on these categories of broadcast and high capture. So we have a concept called lens to living room. And when you think about motion pictures and Sony pictures, because we own a studio as well, we're capturing on Sony lenses using Sony image sensors that are calibrated to deliver, hopefully, to your Sony TV set. So we have this unique intelligence and this bespoke, intuitive delivery into our consumer electronics devices. And this is really different when you think about competitors in our space, this entire ecosystem. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention, this is where a lot of the early sensor development came from. A little known fact, Sony is actually in medical as well. And I can't think of a better use case for a sensor than in a robotic surgery with an optical lens that needs to detect cancer or belly fat. Well, I just made that last one up, but you know what I mean. The image sensor really is critical data information. The acuity is so tremendous that we would be remiss if we did not have a play in the medical market. So we've partnered with Olympus, and we are in hospital environments today. It's no fun to do a presentation unless I can mention Spider-Man. So Spider-Man was our big hit last year. The big one this year was, well, we had quite a few. We had Once Upon a Time on Hollywood. Didn't win the other night. That was kind of a bummer. But we have these radical, this creative IP. So it's not just technology IP, it's creative IP. And a mass there. The studio is an amazing place to experience. And the reason why technology is so important there, it's not only on the capture side, but when you think about things such as volumetric capture, where you have the ability to digitally recreate a set and actually insert folks into that set. And a perfect example of that is Shark Tank. So Shark Tank, half the time, you don't know if it's an actual set made of wood and leather and fibers or if it's digital. So we really push the outer boundaries of technology, even in our creative IP portfolio. Music, I touched on that we have this really nice catalog. Almost every song I listen to, I go, wow, Sony owns it. That's awesome. But this is the star, it's the semiconductor, right? I mean, I love Sony because of this. And I'm really not that big of a nerd. I just happen to spend all of my career in technology, from mp3.com in the early days of music, again, from digital to analog, then that time at Qualcomm where it was also a digital to analog, and we're talking about 3G and the future of e-readers. And it's so funny the things that we would try and figure out then that seem so obvious now, and technology hurdles and markets and so forth. But the net is, when you think of Sony, my hope is that you'll think of it less of maybe the company that brought you Walkman or had that whole beta issue or that memory storage thing, but more of someone that has this tremendous ingredient that enables a lot of great experiences, some of which are life-saving. And that's really my hope. And in this role for Sony, I had just found that when I did a perception study, and I've been with Sony for about 2.5 years, almost 3 years, I did a perception study because I myself thought, oh, well, Sony makes TVs. Who cares, right? I mean, I come from Qualcomm, where you're, charting the future of everything, in my humble opinion. And turned to find out, not only do we partner with Qualcomm in some radical ways, but it really is the same strategy. And especially when you think about 5G, what is fueling 5G but tremendous mass amounts of data, right? So, and that's not the only contributing factor, but that's a big part of the picture, is tremendous amounts of data. So again, we're one of the eager supporters of 5G coming on. This is a snapshot of the revenue. It's in yen, but it's 78 billion. And these are the categories that I touched on really quickly. When you think about your question and answer, don't ask me about PlayStation, because I can't answer. I can make up something, but Sony Electronics really is everything that I've talked about, with the exception of gaming. PlayStation is a wholly owned subsidiary. And other than that, that is really our company in a snapshot. We are tremendously ethical, and as such has picked up a number of awards nationally as well as globally, and that has to do a lot with privacy. You can imagine a company that is capturing a lot of data has to have a pretty darn good privacy policy. So we're very transparent about that. That is published on our website, what our ethics are, what we believe the consumer's rights are, especially when even this Ibo, who has nose as a camera and has got a camera on his tail as well, he's capturing a lot of data. And so we want consumers to understand this is their right to know, and also their right to opt out, So in closing in here, I just would be remiss if I didn't talk about our green strategy is really to be at carbon zero footprint by 2050. And we believe that we may actually bring that in. I can't exactly say the date because the lawyers will get me, but it's a very aggressive plan. So we take it very seriously. And if you ever want to come for a tour to Sony headquarters, it's a LEED certified building, 11 stories tall, sushi restaurant on top. It's fabulous. Bring you all over. We'll have a great party over there. And then you can see all the other great things that are happening in research and development, whether it's through apps or through other AI applications. But it's a real gem, and it's a hidden story, I believe, in San Diego. I just don't think that we get enough credit for the innovation that we do and what we bring to the San Diego economy, which is about 3,000 employees. So that is really going to conclude my presentation. Thank you for your time.